Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 1 to a new what if I'm going to be making. What if Naruto is a vampire? Due to the season of Halloween about to kind of upcoming, I mean it's still 20 days away and everything, but still kind of relatively soon in the grand scheme of things, I figured, hey, why not make somewhat of a Halloween themed what if? I thought about two different ideas. What if Naruto is a zombie and what if Naruto is a vampire? I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do, so I left a poll. You guys obviously, very obviously, it was like 95 to 5% vote, chose me to do this. So we're going to be doing part 1 to what if Naruto was a vampire. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my Discord, which I'll leave a link to in the description, where you can just give me random what if ideas and stuff like that in case I don't actually see your comment. So with that being said, let's just get into the actual what if itself. So, as always, most of these what-ifs start in a pretty similar place, the backstory. Naruto can't just randomly pop out and become a vampire. It has to be some sort of explanation for how this is actually going to happen. Well, we're going to introduce something to the Naruto series. These are going to be two different, not necessarily races, but different species of vampires that roam the actual Naruto world. One, obviously, out of a sheer amount of, obviously, plot armor and ass-pullery and all that kind of shit, is going to be the Namikaze clan. The other, the Uchiha, or not, the Uzumaki. So obviously, Naruto would have two vampire parents, making Naruto a full-blood vampire. These two vampires would actually make Naruto be some sort of hybrid vampire between the vampire of Minato's family and the family of Kushina's family, making Naruto some weird vampire hybrid. Well, what are the actual abilities that Minato and Kushina would actually possess that would kind of merge together to create the abilities that Naruto would actually have? Well, we're going to cover that just now. So, of course, as is with most of my what-ifs, Naruto is going to have to figure out some kind of way to be really overpowered, because, I mean, you can't come to this channel and not to find an overpowered Naruto. That's just something you don't really come here for. So obviously, Naruto's hybrid powers are going to be more powerful than either variants of either kind of vampire. So, for one, Naruto is not actually going to have this, immense amount of lust that he'd need for actual blood. Naruto could have it, or Naruto not necessarily could have it, but more so that Naruto, if he did drink blood, basically would only have to drink a tiny bit, and he wouldn't have to eat or drink anything else throughout the entire day. And Naruto would know this, because why the fuck not? So, Naruto doesn't really have that need to satiate his lust for blood or anything like that. He just has the option to do it. That is kind of like the merging of Kushina and Minato. Say Minato would need to have, he'd have that, need to satiate that blood that he'd need, while Kushina wouldn't have to. She just didn't have to drink blood at all. Those two merged together to make it so that Naruto kind of has literally the absolute best of both worlds. So, that's kind of how the blood thing will work, with Naruto needing to drink blood and everything like that. Now let's cover Naruto's actual abilities. So, obviously, Naruto would have enhanced strength, enhanced speed, enhanced eyesight, everything like that. What about during the day? Well, Naruto isn't going to be like some vampires, where it's he's completely, shied away, he goes out in the sun and he, completely, weakens to the point where he's, some kind of, shriveled husk of his old self. No, Naruto's abilities will obviously weaken by a pretty decent amount, but they won't be weakened to the point where Naruto couldn't move. It'd be like if Naruto was kind of like his normal self. However, in the darkness, Naruto's powers would be basically multiplied multiple fold. He'd be absurdly overpowered, and nobody would really be able to do anything about him. So, what is actually going to happen with the Ninetales attack? I'll cover the rest of his abilities later, but the Ninetales attack would actually happen, except for one thing. Kushina wouldn't actually have the Ninetales sealed inside of her. It would be some other random person who happened to have a lot of chakra, because vampires are completely different from what these basically ninja clans used to be. So they'd find some other random person to seal the Kurama inside of. Obito would still rip it out of them, except this time, Minato and Kushina are trying to protect their son, and they do end up protecting him, except for one difference. Instead of sealing the Ninetales inside of their son, after they die, basically during their dying breath, they would actually just straight up kill the Ninetales, making it so that it could never come back, because plot armor, and why the fuck not at this point, because I don't need to do it. Anyway, so Naruto does not have the Nine Tails inside of him at this point. That obviously means, and the Nine Tails I'm going to say is not actually going to come back unless I feel like it needs to later on for some random bullshit reason. Or like maybe or actually the Sage of Six Paths could probably make it come back, but like it's not just gonna randomly like come back unless something weird happens, like Naruto dies and happens to be the reincarnation of Ashura and all that kind of shit. So the Nine Tails is gone for at least for the time being. The Nine Tails is not going to come back, and I'm not planning on having it come back. So anyway, more of Naruto's abilities that we actually need to cover will be like what exact Naruto has wings. He can fly, he can do all that kind of shit, because why the fuck not? Again, Naruto has to be overpowered as all hell. Now, somebody actually commented an idea in my poll. Blood release. And I'm obviously going to do that. That's actually a really good idea, and I do appreciate who said that, which I believe was actually Madara Uchiha, because that's just how it works. Of course, he'd be the god of ideas. I mean, who would expect him not to be? So anyway, what exactly will this blood release allow Naruto to do? Well, we'll cover that in the next part, because this is going to be kind of like, not necessarily an explanation part, but more of a backstory for Naruto than actual, like, what he would be doing, or like, what, like, his actual story would be, like, instead of, like, fighting and doing the bell test and everything like that. So, basically speaking, Naruto is going to have one more power. At least for the time being. Naruto will obviously get stronger as time goes on, but Naruto has one more power from the get-go that he'd actually be able to use. That being to slow down time with his eyes. Why would he have that power, you may ask? Well, because why not? Naruto's eyes are obviously not going to be like the Sharingan, but when Naruto basically activates this red eye, because come on, there's some similarities there. Basically time for Naruto would slow around, and Naruto would have somewhat of an ability similar to that of observation. Actually, no, I'm gonna make it more like observation hockey from One Piece, because I think that's more dope, like precognition and everything like that. So yeah, Naruto's going to have this precognition. But he can, like, train it to the point where, like, Luffy could from One Piece, where he could train it to see, like, literal seconds into the future. So, that's going to be OP. So, anyway, with those being the abilities Naruto will have, we're actually going to get into the actual story of Naruto. I'll leave a timestamp at the beginning of the video, simply for those of you who don't actually happen to want to listen to that rant about different things, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit of a longer video, so those of you who didn't want to listen to that would actually have, like, you know, at least 10 minutes of material to actually listen to. So I'm going to try making this video around 20 minutes long, just because the explanation literally just took, like, fucking 8 minutes. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of the what if. So Naruto would be graduating from the academy. Nothing like that would actually change, because Naruto's clan, or both of Naruto's parents and their clans, were completely eradicated. That still happened, none of that ever changed. Naruto is basically the last vampire at this point. Maybe there'll be like one or two others that Naruto will encounter in the future. Leave a comment if you want me to do that, or if Naruto should be the only one. But anyway, so those clans would still be eradicated, and everybody would actually treat Naruto a little bit better, because they didn't, like, the Nine Tails was dead, and they know that one of the last members, or last surviving members of the vampires actually killed it. Nobody really knows that Naruto is a vampire to begin with, so nobody would really hate him for that in the first place. So nobody really hates Naruto. Naruto spends most of the time to himself, so by the time he'd graduate, not many people from his class really know much about Naruto. So Naruto graduates. He's towards the top of his class, but I'm gonna say he still gets placed on Team 7 for, you know, plot convenience. Anyway, with Naruto being placed on Team... Like, I don't need to come up with an explanation for it. If any what-if YouTubers do that, and they're like, Naruto will still be placed on Team 7 for this reason, or this reason, or this reason, it's because they're trying to pull some shit out of their ass and make it seem like they put some effort into it, rather than... Or not put some effort in it. They obviously put effort into it. Like, I put a lot of effort into, like, editing and doing all that kind of shit with these videos. But I'm more talking about, like, if they are saying that, it's complete bullshit. Like, they just want to do it so they don't have to, like, completely change the story. Like, not gonna lie. It's like, it's a lot harder to make a complete new story than making a retelling of one that already exists. It's basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, well, with that rant aside, let's continue into the what if. So Naruto would graduate. He'd be placed on Team 7 with Sakura and Sasuke. With Sakura not really caring too much that Naruto was on the team. She doesn't really care about him too much, other than he's pretty hot, and because I'm gonna say Naruto has white hair with blood red eyes because that's he's a vampire. He's got it. And, that's kind of like what the picture in the thumbnail says, so fucking right. So, anyway, he gets placed on Team 7 with Sakura and Sasuke, and Kakashi asks them to, well, do their introductions, and obviously everybody would follow suit, except Naruto doesn't really say much about himself. He'd say, I'm Naruto. Nice to meet you. He wouldn't say anything else. He wouldn't say any of his dreams, or he'd say something similar to what Kakashi said. For my ambitions, don't have any. For basically my hobbies, I don't really need to tell you. He'd say some kind of shit like that, where everybody's like, oh, well, he's kind of fucking edgy. Damn, wasn't expecting Naruto to be such an edgelord. Like, goddamn, bitch, boy. Anyway, with that happening, Naruto would, or not that, oh my god, I'm trying to fucking talk. Everybody else would be exactly the same. Uchiha clan still got massacred, so Sasuke would still have that resentment towards, the resentment is a little bit of an understatement for Itachi, but that would still happen. Sakura would still have her little crush on Sasuke, and by little crush, I mean he literally tried to kill her, and she was still like, why doesn't Sasuke-kun pay attention to me? Oh no, what am I going to do? Anyway, so they're basically exactly the same, and Kakashi would tell them to meet him in the morning. They would obviously do so, and everybody would be like, well, we didn't eat. Except Naruto wouldn't really be hungry. Naruto doesn't really get hungry at this point because, again, Naruto can drink, like, the smallest amount of blood, and he'd be completely fine for, like, literal weeks. So, Naruto not eating for one morning doesn't make a difference, literally, at all. It wouldn't make any sort of difference to him. So, Naruto would not be weakened in the slightest bit, or trying to sneak away to steal food, or anything like that. Naruto would not have those kind of thoughts going through his head, because he doesn't need to fucking eat. So anyway, the other two would obviously be hungry by this point, and they'd be like, well, where is Kakashi? And Kakashi would obviously show up. He'd be late, just like always, and he explains the premise of the actual bell test itself, which obviously would be exactly the same. You have to get the bells from him, however you really see fit. That's how you pass. At least that's what he'd tell them. That obviously isn't the actual point of the bell test, but it doesn't matter. Because, I wonder what would actually happen if Naruto was able to actually defeat Kakashi, take the bells, but not use teamwork. Like, would Kakashi pass him, or would he fail him? Like, would he be too embarrassed to say, you guys fail? Or, like, I don't know exactly what would happen there in that situation. But it doesn't really matter, because that might actually be what happens. We'll find out, actually. Anyway, so, with Naruto basically beginning his fight with Kakashi, Naruto's confident in his own abilities, and he would not go and hide. So, with Naruto charging towards Kakashi right when Kakashi says go, Kakashi puts up his arm in defense, but he notices that Naruto's really fucking fast, and is barely able to actually block the attack, of which he notices is absurdly powerful. Putting away his book, because he obviously knows that he's going to need to for this fight, he then starts trying to take on Naruto, actually, using at least some percentage of his power at this point. They're swapping hands briefly, and Naruto clearly has a pretty decent upper hand in the battle, with Kakashi having to go far enough to the point where he would take out his Sharingan and gain a pretty decent edge over Naruto. However, Naruto would be like, bitch, I got that too! And he'd use his, frickin', what did I call it? Like, the precognition ability. Like, I'm literally just gonna call it observation hockey, because that's exactly what it fucking is at this point. So, Naruto using that, he easily dodges out of the way of all of Kakashi's attacks. Kakashi tries to punch him, Naruto dodges to the left, with his eyes literally closed. And he's like, Kakashi just doesn't know exactly how we should react to this. How we should react to Naruto being so absurdly more powerful than he actually, was. Like, he wasn't expecting him to be so powerful. Anyway, with that, he would basically, he'd be defeated. Let's be honest here. Naruto's so powerful. His physical, mental, everything like that, strength is above Kakashi, along with Naruto having his blood release abilities and everything like that. Kakashi would stand literally no chance against Naruto, and Naruto would actually defeat Kakashi with relative ease. So, what would actually happen here? Well, I'm going to say Kakashi passes them. Through different things, such as fear and embarrassment, he'd actually pass them. For one, he's scared that Naruto might actually kill him because he knows the actual gap in strength between him and Naruto and the bloodlust that Naruto is letting out. And for one, he was kind of embarrassed that he just got absolutely butt-fucked by a 12-year-old kid, and he doesn't really want to admit that that wasn't part of the thing. He's like, Ah, yes, I wasn't using my full power. However, you did well enough, Naruto, to actually pass the bell test along with the two of you. So, with Naruto graduating from the academy and being, a Genin now, they all get their Genin headbands, and they'd start doing their D-rank missions. Their D-rank missions would go pretty normally. They'd get really boring, and eventually Naruto would want to upgrade to a higher-ranking mission, finding these completely meaningless and seeing no real reason why they're actually doing them. So they go to the Hokage Hiruzen and ask him for a higher-ranking mission. With that happening, they get a C-rank mission to guide a bridge builder named Tazuna back to his homeland in the Land of Waves to actually build a fucking bridge. So that's where I'm going to leave this part off. Sorry, I said I was going to make it like 20 minutes. Like, I did. But I don't really want to go through all of the freaking Land of Waves arc because I don't want to. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm literally working 6 days a week and I'm too tired for this shit. So I'll see you guys in the next part. Peace out. Bye.